I am Bianca Stoppani and I am an art researcher. We do writings and curatorial collaborative work, and I live in North London. When I asked you to write a short essay or text for the book, my idea was to have your professional point of view on the project and on submission. With you, it's also a little bit different because you are from Bergamo, so your approach to things has been more personal. Or what was your approach to the project and also with the essay that you wrote? It was quite challenging and interesting because I have written about all sorts of connections or directions that I tried to elicit from the objects that you collected through this project. Quite simply, they're not art objects. Still, I was interested in the reasons why these objects were gathered and how they changed or how they became symbols of something that was changing, something that was not really comprehensible, something that maybe we haven't quite comprehended yet. I didn't start from an art historical point of view, for example, but I started with the question, how is it possible, and if it is possible, to register such changes in society, in the relationships between people, and in and between the objects that we have found or rediscovered in our own places. So a speculative approach, like drawing speculative stories about these objects and about the people that made this selection or made the comment, or how their imaginative approach to those objects. I was quite interesting, as maybe I said also in the text, about the surprise that these people felt towards this object, as if they allowed themselves to imagine them differently. And considering the societal, economical restraints that we currently live in, it's quite a thing to feel that one can imagine again something, and one have the space and the time to rethink something different, to imagine that there is an alternative to what until that point has only been a pen or a desk or a space in one's house. With this introduction you had, you actually touched two topics that I think they were interesting. So one was time, because time it's a recurring topic in your text, and also the idea of like oggetti socievoli or sociable object means to you, how this also translates within the text. I have to say that I'm a huge fan of new work and new ways of saying things. I think that when you came up with the idea of an object that could be sociable in a way, it was quite an interesting pool of ideas that could have been developed from. As a general thing, I'm much more interested in relations rather than objects or people per se. I'm much more interested in transformations, like the moment when two or more things come together, the possibilities that this encounter generates. Again, like in the text, I think that my focus was what happens when you relate to something in a different way. I mean, how this new relation changes you, how this object changes you, and how possibly you can change this other object back. I think also this time perception of things, like how the time changed and how much time now people have, changed also the relationship with things around you. It is as if like time got like a different temperature. I think it was, and it still is, about different perception. Thinking about sociable objects per se, probably the other reason why I focus on the relationships, it was because it came in a moment where relationships were halted. The possibility of the encounter, of being changed by something that happens, come into your life. It's not something that could have happened because you were stuck in your own place. So focusing on the relationships that you develop with the objects, but also being immersed in such like a community-based project, because you could see the other objects proposed from the other people. You could find connections with you, or you could find really the same object that you decided, draw a comparison, or like ask yourself why so many people have decided to, or have found themselves to rediscover their relationship with their living room, for example, or kitchen tools. and so on and so forth. This could be said in terms of relations, and in terms of time, it is definitely something that has been rethought. The perception of time also changes because you are on your own. There are no other people who influences or external things who influences your perception of time. I wrote about time because it's one of the things that have mostly emerged from the descriptions that I read. And I think it was quite telling. Time is the thing that we are most occupied with in a capitalist system or in a capitalist society. So wage labor is based on time. Workers' rights are based on time, alongside other things, but definitely not having to abide to those rules, to those waged hours, and having the possibility of rethinking one's time. How many times in the recent histories did we have to actually rethink this as a society as a whole?
I think also the title of your text, which is For Now, and the fact that you started your text by actually mentioning online events. I thought it was quite interesting because you are listening to an online event in your own time, when you could have actually go to the event yourself, and then the interaction with the event would be very different. Time has been divided in so many different ways now that we are working at home. People rediscover the time and they actually find new activity, but a lot of people also talk in their text about listening and discovering this idea of listening to the birds or listening to music.
I start the text with this talk by Eileen Myles, who is a poet that I really admire. That was a live event on Instagram. But in the meantime, I read the book as well. Eileen Myles writes about the reasons why they write. And the reason is an attempt to catch the moment, the concept of the now. This is why it is called For Now. This pamphlet is like an ever-ending introduction to the reason why they write, because you cannot really say that you're writing about the now, because while you're saying it, the now is already past. It was quite interesting in relation to all this like completely different perception of time that we have developed, at least at the beginning, where there was this huge shock. I mean, it's almost 1 year after now. It is almost as if time has gone back to how it was before, because work has settled. We are working actually more. Now I could say that time has expanded, but for the worse. I don't know, for me at least, I'm seeing very few people just going outside and having a walk with a friend. It takes so much effort that it means that then I need more time to recover, to rebound from it. And in relation to my text, or like, let's say, the beginning of the pandemic, the For Now was about this like temporary situation that we didn't know how much would have been temporary, but still we wanted to believe it was temporary, and then it got stuck in this temporary situation that was not temporary anymore, but it retained the uncertainty of something being temporary.